Senator Bernie Sanders, he picked up a wave of endorsements, but do they actually matter? Plus, we're going to be breaking down 2 new polls that dive into the state of the race.
We're back with Daria Dawson, Democratic strategist, and Republican strategist Holly Turner. Ladies, so there's kind of 2 questions here. One is, if you look at who actually has the most endorsements in the race, they are not necessarily the people that are doing the best. Amy Klobuchar has a lot of endorsements. Cory Booker has a lot of endorsements. Of course, Joe Biden has a lot of endorsements too and is doing fairly well. So the general question is, do endorsements in general matter anymore? And then the more specific question, though, is, do specific endorsements like AOC make a difference? Holly, what do you think?
Yeah, they do. They matter when you don't have them, right? So if you don't have any, it matters. And I think having those critical, I mean, it was brilliant for the Sanders campaign to roll out AOC's endorsement right after his heart attack, right after the debate where some people say it was not his best performance. To have that, him write and announce that endorsement was genius. You can't.
Wait, this debate this week, you didn't think he did well?
No, he did well, but he was not like the star, right? Like people, I mean, I didn't think he came out as a superstar.
I thought he had his best performance in that debate of the season so far.
Maybe so. He was strong. He showed physical strength, which was important. But you know, Elizabeth Warren keeps rising in the polls. Yeah. It's some of the limelight was taken away from him with all of the Biden stuff. So I think him reinserting himself into the conversation is important because, you know, even bad news with some of the other candidates is taking away from you. Like, you can't be stagnant. You have to constantly be
And the thing is, Daria, we were talking about this, which is, you know, according to 538's tracker, Biden, Booker, Harris are all ahead of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. Who's raising the most amount of money? Who's got the most momentum in these campaigns? And I think really what it comes down to is that there are actually not that many institutional endorsements which matter anymore. You know, and I've said this here before, which is I think AOC and Obama are the only endorsements in this race that could fundamentally shift the difference, right? Like if AOC had not endorsed Bernie and had gone Elizabeth Warren, we were talking about this with Ryan Grimm earlier, that would have been a sea change in the progressive movement for American politics. I think Barack Obama, I mean, still the most beloved person within the Democratic Party. I think like 96% approval rating. Him endorsing would actually matter. But, you know, a random senator or congressman, that's just not going to do it for you anymore.
Well, I don't think endorsements, I think, matter for 2 reasons. One, I do think it could play into certain constituencies as to who endorses, but I also think it plays into your surrogates. Because, for example, Chris Coons was on this morning on MSNBC talking about what's happening right now at the White House, and then he snuck in a plug for Joe Biden. You know, that's earned media that, you know, is able to happen. And then the candidates, you're only one person. We just saw, you know, Nina Turner basically going really hard for her candidate. You got to get your votes out there to speak on your behalf. And surrogates can do what the candidates cannot. We just discussed that. And that's what endorsements lead to. You endorse me, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. I need you to go on this radio show. I need you to go talk to this canvas launch. That is the point of having endorsements.
That's a good point, actually.
And let them attack. But it's also critical mass, too, right? Like, you start seeing enough of them. It's not who's endorsing. It's that you have so many happening at one time and it gets bigger and bigger. And then it's social normalization, right? Like, people
I can't help but think of Trump, though. Didn't have a single, it's not a single endorsement. He was at the top of the field the entire time. Didn't care. He had one congressman and Jeff Sessions. You guys remember that? When Jeff Sessions came out there and everyone was like, what? I'll never forget. You'll never forget Chris Christie. Remember that Chris Christie endorsement? America was silent. They were like, what the hell just happened? And guess what? He's the president now. Like, you don't need the endorsements.
You think about Hillary versus Bernie last time around. I mean, yes, Hillary ultimately won, but she had like literally every endorsement. Bernie Sanders had like Ro Khanna and then Tulsi Gabbard, and that was basically it. And he was able to almost match her. I think, you know, it's such a different landscape in terms of the media environment, in terms of politics all being more nationalized, much more local, so that, you know, local county chairman or member of Congress just doesn't have the same power and punch and impact that they used to.
Yeah. We also have a new poll out of Iowa. This is a very interesting poll. So it shows Joe Biden at 21% is a USA Today. Bernie Sanders at 16%, Elizabeth Warren at 15%, and then Pete Buttigieg So it's actually showing.
This was the national poll, I believe, that we're looking at.
The Iowa poll showed shockingly that Pete Buttigieg has surged to third place in Iowa. I think he's at 16%. He's beating
13%.
13% Bernie Sanders. That's a very big deal. I mean, this has not been the strongest state for Bernie. So, Holly, what do you think that exactly that can be attributed to?
Well, it does reflect somewhat the conservative nature of the state, even on the left. I mean, I think the most recent poll that was Iowa specific, when we asked voters about how they felt about impeachment, only 7% of Iowa voters supported impeachment. So that just reflects kind of their values and what they are thinking about. And, those are kind of the two, Buttigieg and Biden are the more middle of the road. They don't want to charge middle class. They don't want middle class tax hikes. So I think you're seeing that happen. And, it could change between now and Iowa, but that's reflecting the values of the voters, I think.
Yeah. What do you think, Daria?
I think that you still have a good number of voters who still haven't made up their mind. I think it's great that this surge is happening, but I think we're going to see this go up and down.
Yeah.
I think this poll said like 1 in 5 still haven't made up their mind, and that they could also change their mind. I think when it comes to Iowa, it's grassroots. It is who is out there knocking on doors, who is out there talking to actual voters and letting their voters get.
Yeah, I mean, it's a notoriously hard state to poll, especially with the caucuses. Like, who's actually going to show up? Who's actually going to understand the rules? Who's their second choice? Right, because if you don't hit that 15% threshold, then things reshuffle. So it's interesting. You also have here in the same poll, and again, margin of error is 4.4%, but you've got Tulsi Gabbard tied with Kamala Harris and Amy Klobuchar, who are supposed to be, top tier candidates.
This is not a top tier person anymore. I mean, her fall in
Kamala?
Kamala Harris. Her fall in this race has just been remarkable to behold. I mean, around that 3% mark in Iowa, you are not even a real contender at this point. I mean, it's something that Elizabeth Warren has dramatically benefited from her fall here, and actually,
well, and we should say it's not just in Iowa. A new national poll also has Kamala Harris that I think we have here from Reuters Ipsos, so fairly high quality poll, has her at 3% as well, tied with Beto, who I think has been written off long ago. Also interesting here, I mean, you've got the top 3 contenders really bunched up kind of there at 21, 16, 15%. Not as good of a poll for Elizabeth Warren as some others that we've seen, Daria.
I will say 2 words to this: Howard Dean.
Yeah.
I still think I keep saying this every time I come on this show. Yeah. Maybe if you guys have me back in November, December, I might be saying a little thing different. Although we're almost to November.
We'll
now.
have you back.
You'll be here. Don't worry.
But I just still think Iowa is basically going to say where this goes. And like you said, Crystal, about when it comes to these caucuses, it's just I just don't really trust the polls when it comes to polling Iowa caucus goers.
So I don't really trust the polls either, and I'm not saying that like this is exactly how it's going to go.
And I'm sorry, I know we were talking about a national poll.
Right. Now we're talking about that, but
both.
To me, it's about like little stories within, right? Like what's registering, what's not. I think that actually matters, Holly. Like looking at the mood of the Democratic electorate, trying to pin down exactly where it is, and seeing where it kind of conflicts with the conventional wisdom. So what do you see here? Like to me, that's why I point out Kamala's fall. I don't think we can all look at this and be like, wow, this is substantial. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I look at this, it's all about authenticity, right? And you see those that are lacking authenticity dropping. But I mean, look, it's interesting that the top more than 50% of the support is consolidated to three candidates, right? And I think back 6 months ago, we would have all said probably going to be those 3 candidates that are going to be at the top. But to your point earlier, it's all about second choice too, right? And so all that we've still got 40% of the supporters that have some other candidate, one of the minor candidates in mind. Who are they going to switch to once those candidates drop out or become obsolete? Right. That's then it's any one of their games.
Yeah, I mean, I did a thing last week. I think the media has really fallen in love with Pete Buttigieg too. I mean, after that performance last week, they were all about, because they see Biden is not doing so great, right? In terms of his debate performance, his fundraising was really bad.
And he's not out there as much as I would expect him to be.
Not out there like at all. Yeah. Right. And so they need another sort of centrist candidate to add into the mix. And I think Pete Buttigieg is the one they've decided
but
to
as he rises, the guns will turn on him, and we'll find more about bad decisions he's made. I mean, that's just the nature of it.
Yep.
So can he withstand that onslaught that will...
Didn't do very well with all those questions about his time as South Bend mayor, and I think there's quite a bit
again,
more.
he's still polling at 0% with a certain constituency.
That's right.
How far is that going to go?
Can't forget
And that matters.
Very important to point out. Ladies, thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Tomorrow on Rising, friend of the show, the Young Turks' Emma Vigeland. She's back. We're going to discuss all latest 2020 news.
And an impactful documentary puts a human face on the crisis in Syria. We're going to talk to the filmmakers about their film For Sama. As always, like, share, and subscribe to us on all our channels, especially our YouTube and also our new newsletter,
That's right.
rising.substack.com. Those of you who have signed up, I think you're really enjoying it so far. We love the engagement with you. So don't miss any of it. Have a great day.